We have.
How are you? Good to see you, Katie. Hi. Good to see you. All right, I'm recording it so we can see it, and we've got the details. So, thank you. We got to get back to it. So
you guys can come around. Get in the frame.
We're getting in the trenches with this.
That's all right.
Oh, you didn't want Katie?
I'll keep you off the camera. I'll keep you off.
You have like no camera. Makes it 25
The white stuff, yeah.
So I wanted to just kind of recap why we're here, what we're trying to do is establish. I've brought in the experts for Ojmar. Said that right?
Yeah, that's good.
Ojmar that can really help us understand the different capability of the Digilock, which we pretty much know the capabilities of it. And they have a really cool product that I think meets those management needs, but yet not really integrated into your network, which could be that security IT issue that we've talked about in the past. So we'll get into the lock. So just to establish, we're looking for an alternate lock that more manageable, but yet not a burden to any one specific group, facilities, IT, security, direct management, that has flexibility as you guys grow. Of course, lead times are good on this, and price point is right in line. So with that said,
yeah.
So the goal is that, and just like the easiest thing to manage, like we really don't want to have to do anything. Like we want people to just walk up, set their code, it's theirs. We want it to have like network so we can see how many are in use or vacant. We're going to get utilization data, all that stuff. But like the bare minimum management on our part would be ideal.
And if I heard correctly last time, we really want to try to stay off of or connecting into your physical infrastructure, right? As far as IT goes.
If not, Connor, who is our technology lead, he'll kind of like start up those conversations to see if it's possible to get something on there.
All right, well, I think we have just the lock to do it.
Okay.
And
Sorry, you need water or anything? Coffee?
Thank you.
Jelly?
That's this weekend.
so without further ado, then I'll pass off to you and start to demonstrate.
Well, I think I have one more thing on piggyback on Jenna. So some of the discussions we've been having is what if someone loses their key, forgets their passcode, so kind of Jenna's point, having something capable that could be remotely unlocked, like over the network, or so that one person, it's not just the assigning portion of it, but it's also the what happens when somebody forgets X, Y, Z, how easily can it be unlocked so no one's having to hang out in buildings with a physical key, like unlocking things.
Perfect.
That is a very good point. Lauren, what I think she envisions it, like you just called a global support center. And say, I'm standing in this building, at this locker, verify your identity and have somebody like remotely unlock it. So it's not a person physically going out to...
Based on my experience, I've been in the industry for 10 years, and I know I like studying. Just I have a financial background, even I'm in sales, and I'm a Vanguard customer. So I love your products, and I can show you I have 3 apps. I love your products, they are easy, and I do Vanguard SP500, Vanguard Growth, Vanguard Value, Vanguard European Funds. So I'm all on you guys, just so you know, and I can show you that I'm not lying. Anyway, I see all your needs, okay? I see how you want to manage remotely, but I do understand that you as a financial company, because I work with many financial companies, let's say American Express and Deutsche Bank are main customers for us, and the network is extremely high security, so you know that integrating into your network is going to be a custom project, and a lot of companies are not going to be able to meet your specific demands because your IT department is going to ask something that is not out there in the market. I'm extremely blunt because I've been in so many. However, there are solutions that are going to solve your current problems in regards to management and avoiding that hassle. Okay? There is not one product for every customer. There is a perfect lock for each need and situation. So I'm going to show you one solution, but we have more than that. Okay? I do believe, based on my conversation with Jake and your previous experience, that this is going to be what you are looking for, but we can go back and study other possibilities. Okay? So without any losing more time, I want to let you know, because it's very important I know Vanguard. I think that you should know our company. Of course, you know Jake and Fred. Our company is 102-year-old. I'm providing Wi-Fi, so maybe that is not great, but don't worry. So we have been in business for quite a while. What I wanted to say is that we are a true manufacturer. So the difference between us and the company that you have been working with is that we are a true, real manufacturer. So I wanted to show you that is our manufacturing plant. It is in the Basque Country, in Spain, between Spain and France. Okay? We design, develop, manufacture, and make the quality test on the same building. And we stock all those products here in Irvine, California, where we have a US team, 2 technical managers that will support you, myself, and more people. Okay, so I wanted to introduce you. Good morning. Why? Based on that, I can say, without no doubt, that we have the highest quality and performance locks in the industry. Okay? And that's, I think, extremely important. We do not manufacture in China, and we take responsibility for all our products. So just so you know, the company was founded, and the name, you may ask, what is Oshman? It comes from the surname of the 2 founders, OJ from Oyanguren and Meyer from Archive. So there is a reason for the name. And without losing any more time, I'm going to go into the product that I want to introduce today. It's called the OSIS Smart Lock, and it's the first smartphone plus keypad lock in the industry with advanced capabilities. Okay? We launched this product 2 years ago. And FYI, I have done phones and routers, Amex, so these are some of the customers that we have. So what I mean is that we go to the high-end customers. That is our market.
And similar customers in your space, right, from a financial perspective.
Exactly. So this is the lock that I'm going to propose to them. So, as you can already imagine, this lock, which comes from Oshmar Capacitive System. What is a capacitive system? It's a touch technology keypad. This is like your cell phone. This is a touch technology solution. They are not push button locks. What is the benefit? This is extremely reliable. This is the 4th generation. We have locks out there more than 14 years, and the keypad is not going to fail. You may have experience on your locks that after 5-6 years pressing the start button, or maybe number 1, if they use 1111, they start to fail. This is not going to happen on this one. And what else? Because of the COVID situation, the architect and specifier has been pushing a lot for something that can be easy clean. They don't want dirt, bacteria, virus. On those kind of push button keypads, there is going to be dirt that you cannot clean. This is waterproof. So if we will have here a bottle of water, I can show you how you can pour the water over the lock. And you can use a cloth with water and alcohol to clean the locks completely. Okay? And I do believe that that is quite important nowadays. So this system, I know that you have experience with just a keypad lock, correct? What I'm offering you here is your customers are familiar with a keypad, so that is going to be a backup that they can always use because it works the same, start 4 digits lock button in case of an emergency. But here is the smartphone, the one that is going to allow your users and your team to have advanced capabilities and solve the majority of the issues that you have had with the key. Okay, just so you know, you can block the keypad if you want. And that way customers use the smartphone, the only way. But if you want to have flexibility, you can always have the keypad as a backup. it is optional. So as I have shown you on the video, you can use your smartphone, iPad, or any kind of device, or directly the lock. So you are going to find a user app for the users and a maintenance app for you, the manager, so you can control everything. So here, let's say that you have 500 locks, you need just 500 locks and one license. What is the license? The license is what makes your facility security unique. That way no other manager can go to your facility and do everything. You are going to have a custom security product. Those are all the things that you need. What is optional? Well, as you know, we have a user sticker. So if they scan the QR barcode, it takes them directly into the user app and they can operate the locks already. So what I mean is that the first day, it depends, we are going to talk if you want to assign lockers, you want to have them like free mode, like a hotel, or a mix of both. We need to talk about it because that's going to be, of course, very important. But what I wanted to show you is that you can create like custom templates, so customers can walk and use the lockers without talking to a front desk manager whatsoever. That is going to help a lot. And what else? We have an optional software. This software does not integrate into your network. It's a standalone. That means that you can have as many software as you want for many different facilities, but we do not need to talk to your IT department. You can manage directly the locks. Okay? The benefit, you being in Australia on holidays, you can provide permissions to users to operate any locker. You can provide permissions to a manager to have access to this building. You can provide permission to have a digital master key. You can provide the 6-digit master code. You can do a lot of things remotely, and it is not on the network. So it is a hybrid, very flexible solution. Do you have any questions? Please stop.
So if it's not on the network, how does it work? Bluetooth?
Two ways. The user and the manager, in order to operate the lock, is Bluetooth. In order to provide permissions, the only thing that you need to have is internet. And I'm not saying Wi-Fi. Once the locks are set up, the first day, okay? And this is the day where you decide if the locks are going to be in free mode or assigned mode. I'm very clear on that, right? So let me ask you, what is your idea in regards to setting up the lockers? You already know that you are going to assign 50% of the lockers and another 50% in free mode, or what is your idea?
I think the idea is they would all be in free mode. So it's first
All
come, first served, and if there's one open, you program it and it's yours. If you move buildings, you can reset it before you leave, take your stuff and go.
Fantastic. That way, on this solution, you can have a template at the entrance of the building, and no one needs to talk to the manager in order to have access. They scan a QR barcode and they have permission. On this solution, if you want to assign lockers, it's going to be much easier than the previous solution. Why? You set up, let's say, 20 locks in a sign-on. That's all you do. You remotely, you are going to see how many locks on your software, how many locks you have, and you can provide the permissions to the users. You being home, in Africa or in Australia. Why? On the software, you are going to see how many locks you have in assigned mode. You can upload your user database, and you can assign specific lockers to specific people and set up an expiration date. Then you go to the user database, and you are going to see the locks that are assigned, which ones are not assigned, and the ones that you have assigned when they are going to expire. And this is an option that we provide. If you set up the locks in free mode, you don't need that. But just so you know, you have that flexibility. Okay?
So I think some buildings have already been assigned, and so I think it's totally dependent upon whether or not they're going to be assigned seated or unassigned. And as we move more towards mobility, it's probably going to be where it will be the unassigned. And so, meaning even the lockers, not just the desks, right? So the lockers in some buildings have been assigned, other buildings it's on an opt-in basis.
I just, from my knowledge, because we were just involved with this, we switched thousands of locks over to assigned use from free address or open. We switched them so that they had a certain code. We just went, you know, it took us a few days to do that, and they could be taken back.
Okay,
But there was a movement afoot to change them all to assigned versus open.
Yeah.
I think the challenge would be if GWX assigns them, then we kind of like own them. Like every time we want to move a person, it's like, well, which locker do you have? Okay, let's find you a new locker in the new building. And I think we want to try to be hands off and just say there's enough lockers for those who want them, and if you want it.
I know that right now you have been assigning lockers with the current solution. Sorry for the expression, but it's a real pain in the ass. Because it has taken 1, 2, or 3 days to set up the codes one by one. You want to avoid that, no doubt. So on this solution, via software, if you have any assigned locker, you are going to see the person that is assigned to that specific locker, and you can reassign that remotely. So I mean, being at this office, you say, okay, Jay is the director at this building. I want to assign him to locker number 70. And I set up an expiration date of 1 day, just in case, whatever is optional. Remotely, via email, I send the permissions to Jay. And a part of that, you have the flexibility. If you have someone on site, they can also, being on site, provide a permission via QR barcode. Scan this on the app, you are ready to go.
Right, so if I'm assigned to Leander, I could only use lockers in Leander if it was in free mode. So the name of one of the buildings. If I got transferred to Alexander, I go over, I scan this QR code in my app. It gives me the permission to now use the lockers in Alexander in free mode if you were unassigned. So that
And
via
then
the app.
for, I guess for the free mode, when somebody like sets their own passcode, can they input their personal information so that if they do forget their code and they call us and say I'm locked out, we can verify
If they use,
their name to their locker.
you have here several solutions. If they use the smartphone, I'm going to show you, they are not going to forget their codes anymore.
Oh, okay.
Why? The smartphone is an intelligent solution. On the user app, is going to provide you the locker number you are using. So it's going to tell you you have closed locker number 17, and your backup code is 1, 2, 3, 4. And your users can customize the backup code. So let me tell you what I do.
This is really cool. It's going to solve that solution.
I take, this is my personal, what I do. This is the user app. I was going to show you later, but this is very important, okay? So if I haven't closed any locker, I go to my locker. This is like an info terminal on my phone, and it says unassigned, okay? I haven't closed any locker, but I do know that I have permissions in free mode. So now I go to a locker, Bluetooth on, I'm connected to the Wi-Fi, so I'm going to get out of the Wi-Fi. I go here, I look for a locker. Okay, locker number 1, you see, right? I close locker number 1, and as soon as I close locker number 1, I go to my lockers, and look what it says, locker number 1. Okay, so you already know that this is your locker, and I have a backup code. This is something that I can customize. And if I lose my cell phone, or it goes to low battery, I can go to this lock and I can open the lock with my backup code. So there is no reason for a user to call you saying I have forgotten their code. Why? First, they have the smartphone to open and close the lockers. Second, they have their own backup code and they can customize this backup code. Okay? So you can set up 1111, your credit card number, 4 numbers that you are always going to. Not only that, your managers, because the maintenance app, there is going to be like an admin, the boss, and this person can assign to other managers different buildings, so they take care of the daily issues. That person can go with the maintenance app, they can read the log, and it's going to tell them everything. And when I say everything, the user code that will open the log, the master code the battery status in real time, absolutely everything. Remember that my backup code was 2222? That's what my user app says. 222. So we have solved that issue of people forgetting their codes and people forgetting which is the locker that they close.
So you can, simple push the button and it opens and closes it. You have the red LED light that's flashing there indicating that that locker is taken. You have battery life that you can down, so on the Digilock solution we don't know what the battery life is until it's low, right? So we can see what the battery life is. We can get data analytics off of this too, right? How often this locker has been closed. So if there was 17 lockers in this bank, you would, when you brought up your app, I'll show you on my side of things because it's locked, right? So if I looked for a locker, I wouldn't be able to see it. I would see that it was locked.
Yeah, and I can show them if you want. What he was mentioning is right. It tells you how the lock is programmed, free mode. The locker number is locker number 1. The master code for that specific lock. So again, another backup code to get access if needed. The user code length 4 digits, because you can set up the lock with 5 or 6 digits if you want more security. The lock is closed, date and time. It has an internal clock, so it always knows everything going on. Battery status 100%. Firmware and hardware version. Why? This is the first lock that you can update the firmware as needed. So down, in 3 years, instead of, let's say, replacing locks, you want 2 new capabilities, you can upgrade the firmware on the lock with new capabilities. You don't need to replace the lock, okay? How many times, analytics, how many times this lock has been opened and closed? 14 times since it was manufactured. And the day that you change the batteries, it will start another count. So you have 2 different. That way you have a great traceability, not only of usage, of quality and durability of the lock. If you set up an automatic opening, now very important, free mode locks. Are you afraid of having locker hogging? I'm going to explain. When locks are in free mode, I don't know with Digilock, but people can maybe stay for 3 or 4 days using the same locker. And maybe that is not something that you like. We have 2 ways so you can solve that issue. You can set up automatic openings. What time does your office close? Approximately 8 p.m., 9 p.m., maybe some days. For example, you can set up at 7:45 from Monday to Friday an automatic open. Or let's say only Friday. So lockers are open and they clean and there is no food or anything that smells bad to the neighbors. That is option 1. Option 2, you can set up a maximum usage per locker. So this is going to give you a lot of flexibility. Why? You can create a quick bank of locker that you say maximum usage 8 hours. And after 8 hours being in use, they open automatically. Or let's say 24 hours. Even if you can set up locks for, let's say, people that don't work at Vanguard, but they are working on projects. Okay, fine. 12 hours. And they will open automatically, and that way they are ready to be used the next time. So if you set up that, you are going to see that here, automatic openings no, or rental time. You can also set up an expiration. And as Jake said, when the lock is closed, you can set up an LED light flashing every 2 seconds, every second, or always an LED light on when it's closed. So your customers know whether it's in use or not. And that way they don't need to start trying to open lockers. On the locks that are assigned, we recommend taking out the LED light because that is your personal locker, so no one should know whether you are using it or not. It's yours. And as I show you, you can also decide whether the locks can only be operated via smartphone. Here is no, so I can use the keypad as a backup. Again, you can start using the locks with the keypad because your users are very familiar to a keypad, and in 1 or 2 years or in 2 months, you can start using the smartphone, right? So you have that flexibility.
And when you open the app to come into the day, I want to find a locker. I open my app, it'll show me which ones are free, or
available.
Unassigned.
The ones that are closed don't show up on the user app, and the ones that are assigned don't show up. Again, if they have provided you a permission in assigned mode, you can only open and close your locker. Okay? And you as a manager, you can control how many lockers they can have access, and so on and so on. Another benefit of using the smartphone, right now on the keypad, a customer can go and close 20 locks, right? Or they can take more than one lock. Via the smartphone, you as the manager, you decide that QR barcode if it's going to give them permission for 1 locker, 2 lockers, 3 lockers, or how.
Can I ask a quick question
Absolutely.
on the firmware? Is it a push or a pull? Like, will you push the firmware out to these devices, or do we have to pull it down?
No, when we provide you the locks come with the firmware and they are ready, programmed, ready to be used.
But I thought that they were firmware upgrades.
Correct.
So are those pushes or pulls? Like, do we get notified and then we have to pull it to the
No,
lockers,
no, no,
or
no.
they get pushed?
It will only be a conversation. I mean, we do not change the firmware every 3 months. That will be if there is a radical new capability that you want.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I'm not an engineer, but what we do is we provide via email the new firmware, and you have here the update firmware option, and directly you will go and you will press start, update firmware, and all the firmware goes into the lock. What you can do is you set up the lock here, and that way it's going to upgrade the firmware on the complete bank of lockers. You don't need to go one by one. That is how the update firmware happens. I don't know the answer. If you want, shoot me an email and I will give you a specific reply. Okay?
I do like the idea of the expiration with the free mode. So whether it's a month or a week or whatever, we don't have to worry about the hogging, which I think would be an issue. But we also want to give the flexibility that people want to leave things overnight for a period of time, they can. But I also like the idea of people being able to have that full mobility where they can have a locker in different buildings depending on what they're doing. Once we get to that point. So.
Yeah, and for like guests and visitors, yeah.
Let me show you. I have videos of
With the free addressing ones, like we have some, a bunch of them that are free address, and some people just go in and they never leave them. You know, they just park there, and so it becomes like their locker, de facto, because we don't have a timer, so they're open.
Yeah, I think my concern would be with folks leaving the building, leaving the organization or whatever. There's no way to know or unlock it without an expiration.
Yeah. Or I guess like periodically we could run to see like badge swipes per building versus locker swipes. And if someone hasn't been there in so many months.
It sounded like you said you can also see like how many times it's been locked unlocked, so you could probably
Correct.
check, and see like, hey, that one's only been opened once from that user.
Oh, yeah,
It's been 2 months.
And you have the events on the maintenance app. So if you have any question about that, you read the events and it's going to tell you when was the last time that it was closed. So if the lock has been closed 2 months ago, you open with the master key out, this lock is ready to be used by any other customer.
And you can access everything on the maintenance. It doesn't have to necessarily be on the phone. It can be on a website, right?
Correct. It can be on the phone or an iPad, and you can put it on the software, so they can have it on a computer for convenience. The software is optional.
So if you had this software app, if I was here, could I say what locks were available in a building across town?
No, what you can do is what you do is whenever you have any connection with the lock, automatically you can send all that data to the software. Okay, so it's not going to give you a real-time report or this open is closed. Okay, it's going to tell you whether. If you import the data, it's going to say how the lock is programmed, which is the expiration date, which is the automatic opening, and everything. And you can send the events back to the computer from your cell phone. So everything that tells you here, when it has been closed, when it has been opened, everything chronologically updated, you can see that on the software. But what you cannot do is in real time see who is the user here via software. You can do it on your smartphone or an iPad.
Local to the building.
And then if we were putting these locks in multiple buildings, can we somehow tag them to say, all of these locks are in the Leander building, all of these locks are in the
You can name them.
Morgan building? Okay.
So you put the building name.
Okay. we really want to keep tabs on utilization. So if somebody says, I can't find a locker in Alexander, we can pull up the app and say, well, there's 20 that are available.
Of course, you are going to see how many there are. And one thing very important that you mentioned, so you don't have that kind of problem. Think about, for example, I know a lot of companies that set up this. You don't want an automatic opening every day because you want people to leave belongings overnight, but the Friday night opening. So there are no things during the weekend because they want to clean the lockers once in a while. So that is very common. One opening per weekend is the last day of the week. That's something. And you don't need to set up this on all the locks. You can decide which one set up this automatic opening. So there can be areas that have it and you put a note, other ones that don't have it. So you have that flexibility. So I have a video on the user app, so you see a few things. Yeah, so you know you can integrate everything that you are seeing on your Vanguard app, and we are going to talk about the benefits of that. In this case, all those locks are in free mode. But if anyone will be closed, they don't show up. To open, so if you close a locker and your cell phone dies, you have the backup code to operate that lock. I said you can customize the backup code for convenience.
The backup code is unique to you, not to the lock. So you don't have to assign that lock a code. It's unique to you. So if you go between buildings, go to a different location, you got an assignment down in North Carolina, you're gonna go down there and use their lockers. You scan the QR code on the way into the building, so now you're allowed to use those lockers, and that code is yours. So we don't have to ever go back through and put 1,700 2,000 codes in.
Exactly. So very quickly, just so you know, the user app is very simple, so customers and users cannot mess up. This is the main page, and this is where you find locks, open and close. And you can see the backup code. That is everything on the main page. Second page is My Lockers. So this is where customers are going to see whether they have a permission for free mode locks or assigned locks. And this is the place where it's going to tell you the locker number you have closed. And the third tab is where you can customize your backup code and where you can receive permission to lockers. And you can receive permissions in two ways. Option one is scanning a QR barcode. So you can create a custom template, and that way they are like automatic lockers. They don't need to talk to a manager. I scan the QR barcode, I'm ready to go. Option two, if you are remotely, you can provide me the permissions via email, and I just upload the file that you send me via email. So you can email 200,000 users a free mode before they go into the office. And last, this is where I can choose. Imagine that you provide me a permission for an assigned lock in this building, another assigned lock in the second building, and a permission in free mode for a fourth building. I can have all the permissions, and I choose based on the name of the building. So I have everything, and I can relocate from building to building without talking to a manager because you have already given me permission. And then for managers, you have the maintenance app. So the users are not going to see anything here. This is for you. It's called maintenance. We provide for security a license that makes your maintenance app unique. For example, this is how easy it is to generate a QR barcode in free mode. You can copy and paste it anywhere. You can modify the master code. This is how to program and set up the locks. The automatic opening we have been talking about. And that way you have the flexibility of changing the locks down the line if needed, from free mode to assign, and directly you press start, hit the button, and it's modified. Because of security, you have events, and everything is chronologically updated. How to update the firmware, and that's everything. I'm not going to lose a lot of time because it is easy, so I'm not going to make it complicated for you. These are the 7 options you are going to receive on the maintenance side. Option 1, you decide who is going to be the administrator, so the boss, the security director, and this person is going to be able to assign maintenance licenses to other managers for different buildings with different security protocols. And the boss can decide what you can do on the app. So he can restrict you. He can say, well, I do not rely on this person, so I do not want to provide this permission, okay? The boss can decide on that. So there is different security protocols. Second, generate permits. As I showed you, you can generate a QR barcode or email remotely, so there is flexible. Third, how to reprogram the lock. Fourth, this system has not a physical master key, which is great for security. You have digital master keys. The benefit, it is more secure, and you can create as many different digital master keys as needed. That way you have traceability. Because of security, you can read events, and maintenance, very important. It tells you the battery status in real time. It tells you how many times it has been opened and closed, all the data on the log. And finally, you can upgrade the firmware. This is how you can provide permissions with a QR barcode. What is optional? The software. And the software, it will tell you the name, for example, the building name, lock number, everything, how it's programmed, and you can see if it's assigned and whether there is an expiration date. That way you can control the locks and you see that on a computer. What is the benefit of the software? You import all the user database, and when you have a user, you can say, okay, this gentleman, I'm going to provide a locker in free mode and one locker in assigned mode. These ones are free, I choose a lock, and you can set up an expiration date. And you always have this database to see which lockers were assigned, which were in free mode, and when they expire. Yes, we have a lot of tech companies, so great customers, and something very important for you. The service. We offer free training, so we can set up either video calls with each of your team members. Second, we have videos on the training, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 5, showing you everything, and there are very short videos. And the third option, something that I talked to Jay, the first project, I'm more than willing to come at no cost and train your team and show them how easy it is to set up the logs, to provide permissions remotely, and everything. So the summary is that we provide free training. We have all the logs in stock in Irvine, California. And let's say in the worst case scenario, you have a log that is not working, we can replace it immediately in less than 3 days. And let's say that you have another issue and you need new logs for different buildings. We manufacture in 13 working days. That is the best manufacturing lead time in the industry. And that is everything on this one. Any questions?
What kind of warranty is it for?
3 years on all the logs, software, items, and so on.
And they're battery powered.
Correct. They are
About how long does it last?
4 AA batteries, and they are the highest quality battery industry. They are German, and the brand name is Bart. Okay? Second, what is the battery life on this log? I'm going to explain you very clearly, because we do tests as engineers. We do tests. This is OCS Smart and this is the OCS Pro. Using the log 4 cycles per day, so 4 openings and 4 times, it is a 5-year battery life. Okay, this is almost double of digital, and I know that almost because of the fact. Second, if it goes to 8 times per day, which I don't believe that is going to happen on an office, someone opening and closing the lock 8 times per day, it goes down to 4-year battery life. And this is done via test with a machine opening and closing the locks with the LED on and the sound on. So if you assign lockers, I strongly recommend to take the LED off, and you are going to gain between 3 and 6 months battery life.
So the lock on the left is the OSS Smart, that's the one we're suggesting. And on the right is the Pro, which is more or less just a user code, right?
Yeah,
it does
like
not
the
have the
Keypadlock.
app.
And very important, just so you know, let's mention a specific case study, American Express. American Express was using DULocks, as you are using. They have retrofitted 12,000 DULocks, so imagine how much money, for the OCS Pro, and now in the last 2 projects they are using the OCS Smart. Okay. And it is a direct retrofit. So what this means is, let's say that you pull the trigger on the next project. If you are happy, you can, on the older buildings, you can retrofit your existing DULocks for the same solution. FYI.
So while we're here, we also wanted to show you one other solution. Oh, there's 2 mechanical solutions. So right now, you know, we're talking about for North Carolina, just a key and a barrel, which we recommend against, but you know, can do that in the interim. So there are 2 mechanical options that, if we wanted to go that way, exist. And so we want to show you those. And then there's the RFID one. Can we talk briefly just about the RFID one?
And just so you know, this is the...
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. This is the Amex headquarters in New York. So you can see all the locks. RFID lock.
Just real quickly,
Okay.
show that option.
Sure.
Yes.
So, I know you recommended against the barrel and key, but until we know what our like long-term solution is going to be, I feel like it's not worth investing in some other like digital product if we're not sure like what we're using. So, is there like the opening of this? Is this like the same opening as the DigiLock that we could pull
That's
that
correct.
off and put that in? Okay.
So that will save us some. You know, we had originally talked about if we switched to a different type of lock that we need to replace the door. In this case, we will not have to replace the doors, so that's good. If we go with the simple barrel lock, we will have to replace the doors, or I'll need to come out and do additional drilling into the door.
Is there any way to prep the doors ahead of time so we don't have to replace them? Like, what if you just cut the opening and put like a
I can do
cover
that.
plate on it or
Yes,
something?
we can do that.
Okay.
We can do that.
Same as
And then the
DigiLock.
lock comes out, you just plug it in.
Yes.
Okay.
Start for the lock pad.
Yeah.
That is how you operate the lock. So your customers are going to be used to this.
Yeah, I think to Jenna's point, you know, until we figure out sort of our longer term plan or what we're looking to do, I mean, maybe shorter term plan, I should say, right? I mean, can we just talk about the other options as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a hasblock. Nothing to say about it. I don't believe that you know, taking a padlock into the office is convenient, so I'm not going to even talk about it. Mechanical combination solution, no batteries. Okay. Unique public and private mode on the same lock. So the same lock is going to allow you to have either a lock in free mode or assign it. And it is as easy as just with a screwdriver modifying from one mode to the other one. Is that understood?
Yeah, so people can't actually turn that dial.
No. What I mean is lock. You can use it in free mode. So I walk into the lock, I like this code, I close the lock and scrap. Okay?
Oh, that's the lock and unlock. I see.
So I put back my code, and now it's reset. So now you can come, you put another code, you can close it and scrap. Okay, that is free mode. What I was saying is that this lock, which is unique for a mechanical lock, can work in free mode or assign. So how will assign mode work? What is your favorite for the lead code? Or say one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, with a screwdriver, I switch that to F, and this lock is only going to open and close with 1, 2, 3, 4. It's assigned to that specific. And that is unique, and you can switch back and forth. So this is a very flexible solution.
But it can also be opened by
Sorry, repeat it.
It can also be opened by key.
Master key.
Master.
So a master key. So the employee does not get a key for this. This would just simply
Only
be.
the money.
So if it's in free mode and you don't need the locker anymore, you just put in your code, unlock it, close it, and just don't lock it. And then the next person comes and sets a new code. Okay.
And that's all. Very easy. RFID. Sorry.
We don't have them yet. They're on order, but we don't have them yet.
This is a very advanced lock. What I mean is that to operate is very easy, but you get the software and NFC program. Sorry. So this software, the user database and events are on a network database. You can share them.
So if you were looking for like just a straight
What is the benefit?
absolute straight line?
In real time, so all the users that are going and coming in your facilities.
Yeah.
And the lock can be operated via RFID card, default, or bracelet. Again, like the mechanical one and those is smart, it can be public or private mode. You can switch back and forth.
Show no return. Yeah, I mean, if it has a return, it's not. Because it's going to be more.
Completely
But if
wireless,
you want it to be
so you don't need to wire absolutely anything. Okay, very important.
Yeah. Wireless is good because that's infrastructure. We don't introduce any additional infrastructure.
Yeah, I
From
think even on a
7
right
up to 10-year battery life. This is the longest battery life in the industry.
That's this little circle one? Okay.
Why? Because of this need. Closed.
those are
Oh.
30. These are 30. That's 72.
Very secure. The data is encrypted.
Sorry.
Right.
Just so you know, very quickly, it's a very robust solution. We have certificates against
Are you really
water and humidity, so you can clean the lock, and external impacts. Both the OCS Smart and the OTS Advanced have ICAG 9 certificates against impacts. So we are certified. The only way to break that lock is having a tool and applying a 10 joules force. That is a hammer and hitting it with a hammer. So it's a very robust solution. On this solution, there is no app, but there is a program.
Yeah.
You can program
Well, I think
and
you
read the
put a
lock,
slide in there now, yeah.
and that is going to provide you the battery and the lock status in real. 3 technologies, MyFair Classic, my browser light, and there's 5.
That's based on what your RFID card has on the back end. I've asked Katie to give me that information.
Yeah, we're working on it. Connor was out.
Okay, no problem.
Let me ask you one question. What is the technology that you are using for RFID locks?
That's what we're just talking. We're trying to get that still.
Okay, let me explain it. That is the main issue with RFID locks. That's why I introduced the OCS Smart. Why? You avoid that kind of issue. With RFID locks, you need to meet protocols. You may have a building that the security protocol is older because it's the oldest building and is different from the other one. That will make it impossible to have one lock solution for everyone. On the OCS Smart, you do not have that problem. You have a solution for all the buildings.
How tall were you guys thinking?
And the OTS Advanced has a software. And the software is very complete. So again, everything that I mentioned on the OCS Smart, but in more detail. For example, subgroups for different buildings. Using one software, you can manage 15 different buildings. Time zone. You can set up the locks. So you use that lock, locker number 1, in the morning. She uses that lock in the afternoon, and I use that lock in the night. 3 people, 1. Those are the capabilities of the RFID. Again, expiration dates on the RFID media, and you can cancel the use.
You got too many numbers going on.
So the only thing I see from the issue perspective is someone uses this, right? How would we go about replacing it?
No. If we know what your RFID card is to get in and out of the building, like you guys have a swipe card, right? To security swipe card, we can use that to go to that if we know if it's one of those 3.
So you'd use your badge. Interesting.
Yes, you use your badge. Now, if they forgot their badge, they can't get into the. So the question came up on the call the other day. Well, what happens if they forget their badge? They have to go security, they get a spare new badge to get in, and they wouldn't be able to access the locker.
So there's not like a master badge.
There is, well, there would be a master badge, but that assigned locker wouldn't work for that. Now, we could have
Extra cards or key or stickers or key.
So a couple screens back, you saw wristbands, cards, things. So if you had to go to security to get a spare badge to get in and out of the building because you forgot today, they could give you a locker badge at the same time, so you'd have to turn that back in when you left.
And it would only, how does that not use, how is that not
It would have
able
to be in.
used on other lockers?
It would have to be in free mode.
So again, free mode or assigned mode, it depends on how you decide to set up those lockers.
But if you forgot your badge, you went to security, you got a badge today, right? Once that's locked, it's locked. You can't unlock anybody else's stuff with your ID, so it's linked to that particular RFID card.
So now I close this lock. Now you cannot open with your card mine.
But if I get a spare from security, that's my point.
It won't work.
Right.
Because it's already locked to that card.
Right.
So it reads the
UID number on this specific card. With RFID cards, when you program the card, you are given a specific UID number, like it's your passport number.
So only if it was unassigned, public, I could get something from security and then go and use it, and it would open it.
Oh no, either if it's in assigned mode or free mode, the master is going to open the lock. Security is going to have a master key and a service key fob. And with those keys, they can, in case of emergency or this case, they can have access to them. Both master and service key. The master will open the lock and reset the memory, so now it's free, so she can use it. The service key fob will open, so you can check what is inside, and it can close it, the service key, keeping the previous user code. So imagine, open, close, so the previous user can come back and open the lock. But both keys are going to open the lock.
So if you had a locker and you forgot your badge for the day, you could go to security and ask for like a guest key, like give me a second locker.
Yeah,
with its own unique key and use that for the day.
in
and
that
hand it back
case,
in?
I would recommend you buying extra cards or extra key fobs. Security has 10, 20, and they can issue or even a sticker, and they can program that so you can use a locker for a specific time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get your spare badge today, and here's your spare locker badge, and that will only open the one. It'll only lock one. And once it's locked, it's locked.
Yeah.
Because it has its own unique ID number to it.
The real difference, because honestly, the difference between the locks, these two, is how you operate them. Here is going to be RFID media, and when I say RFID media, is card, key fob, bracelet, or a sticker, so you can put it over existing cards. What is the problem? If your users don't have the badge, okay? At that moment there is a problem because it's the only way to open. This lock has two ways to open: a smartphone or keypad. So in this case, your team is always going to have a solution and a way to operate the locks. FYI, that's why I said that we are going to have something new. We are going to have this lock that is going to be
So, but I think we will probably wrap it up, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just this one really cool new feature
Okay.
that.
And do you have other manufacturers?
Yep.
this lock. We are going to have a new version that is going to be a smartphone and RFID cloud-based real-time. What does it mean? That you remotely, being in Africa on holidays, you can see in real time which is using this locker, which is using that locker, provide permissions, set up automatic openings, everything remotely. Okay? Disadvantage of that lock: you need to set up a gateway that provides Wi-Fi for 500 locks. Benefit is not integrated onto your network, it is cloud-based, so the security is independent. I'm going to be extremely blunt. It depends on how easy or how advanced you want to set it. This is easy and standalone, extremely easy to manage. This is more advanced, so it requires having the software always. On this one is optional, and the new lock is going to be very advanced. It's going to give you a lot of opportunities, but of course, it does require the managers to have more knowledge, more training from us. Therefore, it's more complex. So it really depends on the complexity or simplicity that you want. Okay? This is the most simple thing ever. Then you go into this with the smartphone or the keypad, then the RFID, and then the real-time RFID and the smartphone.
So
And RFID, does that need internet, or is that Bluetooth also?
This one does not require internet. The new lock is going to require, we are going to provide gateways. The gateway is the device that provides the Wi-Fi to those specific locks and is completely independent from your Wi-Fi in your network.
Okay.
So think about this from the workstation perspective, right? So if I have a workstation and it has a PED, if I lost the key, locked the key, broke it off from there, you're calling maintenance and facilities anyways to open that. So that's going to be very similar to this one. Hey, I forgot my code, I can't open it, the battery's died, I need you to come out and open this out for me. So facilities still going to have to come out and manage that in some way, shape, or form as an extension of their PED and their workstation or ladder phone, right? So how do we minimize some of that? That's with this one. We can minimize that because we've given you two different ways, and then two different ways. One Bluetooth, one you already know the code. If you still can't get into your locker, then we call facilities in. So the number of facilities calls are going to be reduced in this option here.
Are people putting those on the pedestals as well, or just
Yes,
lockers?
we have a horizontal version for pedestals too.
So then the RFID is utilizing it, depending on your technology, your existing key card in and out for that. So, but you lose the secondary ability to get in there. So if I lose this during the day, getting in and out of the building is an issue, but if I lose this during the day, I still have to call facility. So this goes back to this as far as who's helping to manage when the user doesn't know what's going on, or lost their number or something. So that's in that.
What about this in terms of the, how long does this last? Right?
There are no batteries, so that lock is going to last for 10, 12 years.
But I mean, in terms of like the
Yeah, no. That is the third version. I have locks that has been for 9 years in the
9
market.
years, okay.
That is the only thing of that lock is mechanical wear and tear. But it's
Right.
like your car. Even if you buy a BMW after 400,000 miles, right? So it's the same thing. It's based on 60,000 cycles. So I can tell you, 60,000 cycles, which is what that lock is tested.
Yeah.
Let's say that you use the lock how many times per day?
Four times a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year.
That's a lot of years. I mean, it's just more than 20. But it's 40 years used on an average 4 days per day, 360. So that is the simple thing.
I sell a lot of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. But every time they I won't say every time, they go, well, is there something, maybe we should have went more advanced with it.
That is very simple, and I sell a ton. I mean, and we have Morgan Stanley, 5,000 locks. But what is the thing? This is higher end, is based on what you have, and need answers, or it solves the problems that you have experienced. And again, if you have the Vanguard app, you can use the Vanguard for employees, set up the locker tab, and they can close, open the lock, have the backup code, tell them which is the locker number, everything in your own app. And we provide the software development kit for free, so your IT department can integrate whatever they want. If you ask me, I strongly believe that is the best solution. Why? On this one, on the RFID locks, when you close a locker, you may forget which is your locker number. There are ways to solve that, but you need to put an infoterminal like that screen from a steel case, so it reads and it tells you the lock number. Here you have everything on your hand. And if you do not want the cell phone, as they are using right now codes, but what is the benefit? You can assign locks and decide on the code remotely. You don't need to ever come back and set up a code on the locks. So that is a huge management improvement. And again, right now in those digilocks, you don't know the battery life. Here it tells you the battery life in real time. If it goes to low battery, it sends a warning to the user and the management plan. You can read all the events chronologically updated, everything on your hand.
So that the little circle lock, that doesn't have the same maintenance app as that?
No,
that the
it's only
managers
computer
can see?
based,
Okay.
and it takes more time because you need to go here, read the events, and go back to your computer.
Okay.
Here, with a cell phone or an iPad or any Bluetooth device, you can read and know everything about the lock. Plus, you can send, once you read the lock, into your software, and that way you have all the database on your computer properly stored, knowing all the locks, how they are set up and everything.
Great. This was very helpful.
Very.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for this
Thank you.
demo. Thank you
Yes,
for
thank you.
Absolutely.
your videography skills.
We've got it.
Yes,
got it
very nice to
recorded,
meet you.
so-
Thank you very much for your
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, thank you
you.
very
We're gonna
much. We
shut
would
the
love
video
to
down.
see, I think for probably all of these, just like the pricing information and like the all-in.
Katie
like
has the pricing.
The software,
Yeah.
programming fees.
She has all of it.
Oh,
Okay.
well, just so you know, the benefit of these locks, there are no annual fees.
Right.
Okay.
So, and Jake is going to show you, I think that this is extremely price competitive for everything that shows you. Why? Because if you go into a real-time lock, it has annual and monthly fees. You start adding the fees, there are a ton of money. On this one, you buy the license, you own it forever.
Okay, great.
Very reasonable.
Okay, so pricing and lead time?
The
Lead time
inside.
info?
They are in a
We can get that locked to the North Carolina project
Okay, great.
and Bogle and Dallas.
Great.
Okay.
So-
Awesome. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You can reach out to Jake, but if we work together, I tell you, we offer free training, which is extremely convenient, so you could get back to me and my technical manager for training.
And North Carolina resource?
And extremely important, we have a sales manager on the East Coast based in Charlotte. That's why I said that on the first project, if you pull the trigger, he or even he and I will go on site, program the lock to your specific needs, free mode, design, train your managers, and I think that it will be great even train some of the users so they see how easy it is to operate. I strongly recommend that the first day that you install the lockers in the locks, there is some training to the users, because that resolves all the questions they may have.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Very nice
you.
to meet you.
Thanks
Nice
so
to meet you in
much.
person.